To win, somebody's got to lose. I might as well get over the blues. Just like fishing in the ocean, there'll always be someone new. Pull up the bad time, girl, you keep it on. But I've been through stormy weather. Beat goes on, yeah, yeah. Just like my love, everlasting. Hey, the beat goes on.
What's up, guys? Bit of surprise if this does get out. It's been a hectic week at work, so I've been busy. So as promised, after week 4, technically we're in week 5 now, but I'll try to get some power rankings in for you guys. How do I think teams are going to go on moving forward? Let me just give you the overall theme and how this is going to be broken down into. I'm only going to really evaluate the top 6 teams, in my opinion. Nobody really cares about the bottom 6. The one thing that I'm noticing is that all of these teams are very, very beatable as of right now. I think a combination of teams should have a better record than what has been shown, and I think it's because of their management woes. I think that a lot of teams that are good are very, very exploitable. They are very, very beatable, and there are a lot of injuries. If you've noticed, I think this is one of the lowest scoring seasons or years that we've had in a while. Okay, I have not yet to seen a guy consistently get projected into the 130s. It's usually everybody's in like the mid to high teens into the low 20s. Now, yeah, I know it's Yahoo projections. I get that, but when you see that projection from Yahoo at the 130, man, it means that they're totally buying in. I know we have some bye week woes as well, but man, I don't see a lot of I haven't really been impressed with one team, to be honest. I do feel like I don't want to say it's anybody's game right now because we are a quarter of the way into the season, but at this point, I think you know what some guys are, and there's some guys who have yet to get an opportunity. So those are a lot of things that I'm going to look at. I'm just going to touch on the worst of the worst first. I'll breeze by it really quickly. The first guy at number 12, Lewis Todd. This is kind of a no-brainer. Just a lot of bad draft picks. You could call it bad luck, call it whatever you want. This team is not going to work out. I think he knows it, unfortunately. He's currently on vacation. I need to give him kudos to the Austin Hooper pick. Did we overestimate the fact that Dirk Cutter fell in love with tight ends last year? I have no idea, but Austin Hooper has been a gold mine. But everything else, Curtis Samuel, you would like to think would be okay. I know Kyle Allen likes him a lot, but I don't even like Kyle Allen that much. Todd Gurley, say what you want. I still don't trust this going forward. Yeah, bottom line is that I don't think he has enough volume to sustain a solid season. Next, I'm kind of going to have to put David Cryer at number 11. Just a lot of uncertainty with this team moving forward. He's lost 3 straight. George Kittle hasn't really gotten going yet. Alvin Kamara is fine. Derrick Henry is fine, but there's not enough firepower and not enough upside to keep this team afloat to be a contending team. That's my main concern with that one. At number 10, I could go a numerous amount of routes if I wanted to here, but the guy I'm going to put on at number 10 is none other than Paul. Look, it's Pat Mahomes or bust. Granted, Pat Mahomes is going to go off for you every game except for last week. But when I look at the way this roster is constructed, you got rid of Devontae Adams. I understand that you needed a running back in LaShawn McCoy. I totally get that. But I don't think Adam Thielen is going to be a guarantee. Paul, I always use this as you. And look, if you want to do it, sometimes if it doesn't, look, I'm not a believer in this, Paul, but you point chase a lot. I think that point chasing can only get you so far. When Johnny did the right thing to sell Thielen, now look, Paul, yeah, Devontae Adams is hurt. So maybe you might wind up winning this trade by default. But I don't think getting Adam Thielen and LaShawn McCoy is going to solve your issues. Look, Vikings hate Kirk Cousins. Adam Thielen is now bitching and complaining. Stephon Diggs wants out. And if Stephon Diggs does get dealt, Thielen's value is going to plummet. I don't like slot receivers where they don't have an established threat on the outside a lot. So that's a concern. McCoy, by default, I think he's the lead back. We have to see what happens with Damian Williams, but even so, Darrell Williams was still being used. This is going to be a two-back system that Andy Reid wants to incorporate. I do feel like LaShawn McCoy is going to be the inside runner, but at the same point, if McCoy is getting rushing touchdowns, that takes away from a Pat Mahomes. Bottom line, Paul, the only way I feel like your team is a guaranteed victory is if Mahomes throws for 4+, two of them go to Kelsey, and McCoy gets a touchdown. If that script happens, I think you're in the clear. But if one of your three Chiefs cannot hit, unless Mahomes throws 5 all to Kelsey or something like that, it's very hard, especially with boomer bust Calvin Ridley, Robbie Anderson. Zach Ertz has been a major disappointment. Jordan Howard, yes, I know he scored, but this is not a guy I'm banking on. I think the backfield is still a mess in Philadelphia. I don't think this team sucks. It's not what I'm getting at. I do feel like there's a lot of guys that have potential upside on your bench, like DJ Chark, maybe Robbie Anderson if Darnold ever does come back. That there's a possibility there. But the bottom line is this: I think the projections always get overflated with yours because of Pat Mahomes. Paul, there's no way that you should be projected to beat Max this week. Now, granted, if it is because it's a Sunday night primetime, I get it. Mahomes keeps you in games, but can everybody else back it up? That's my concern with this team. Coming in at number, what am I at, 9? Who cares? It's me. Bottom line, it's management. I look at this roster. This is not even a bad roster. It's management. We're going to go on to the next team because I don't even want to talk about it. Andre and Allen, I'm just going to put them flat out at 7 and 8. I don't think these teams go anywhere, to be quite honest. Mark Ingram has done his best to carry the running back situation. James White is now in a 3-man committee. I'll continue to pound that drum. I think he was only good really last year because of the amount of volume he was getting because everybody else was hurt. And once you saw all the other backs come back in, his numbers went down dramatically. Hopkins is nowhere to be found as of this moment. Juju Smith-Schuster will be a bust this year by default with Mason Rudolph. Stephon Diggs is bitching. Robert Woods has not been what he was last year due to Cooper Kupp. There's a lot of things that I don't like about this team. The one thing I will say is Tyrell Williams seems to get touchdowns every game. Tariq Cohen, maybe with Chase Daniel, might not be that bad, but I don't see enough upside to carry this team afloat. Alan, the same thing can be said for you. Aside from the Big Mike combo and Le'Veon Bell, I mean, you're throwing darts out there. Yes, New England's defense has been a MVP candidate. And in your mind, you're going to expect 40 out of them every week. I get it, Alan, but what's going to happen when they have that one game that gives you like 10 or 20? You're going to need a lot of these upside guys to go in. The reason why I have you over your cousin, though, is because of this. Now here you can get hyped up and try to value them as wide receiver 1 or running back 1. I absolutely adore this Jalen Samuels guy a lot now. But Brissett's been serviceable. Evans, Thomas, Bell. It's the big 3. You do this every year. You try to recreate your Super Bowl team because that's the formula that you went with. It's a whole bunch of wide receiver 1s or 3 elite guys, and then you're throwing darts everywhere else. The fact that you have 2 wins is the reason why I'm putting you here and not all the way to the bottom at number 11 or number 10, point blank. That leaves me, or maybe I did go through all the teams. Yeah, so that's the bottom 7, not the bottom 6, because that would be half and half. Bottom line is, if there's any guys that I think have a chance to make it out of the bottom, it's going to be, by default, it's going to be anybody that's in my division with Andre and Allen, because this division has Matt afloat at 3-1. But I don't think any of these teams are scary per se. I don't think anybody runs away with this division. So I feel like anybody in this division has a shot, absolutely, because these are beatable teams. So those would be the only guys I think would get out of it. Okay, judging by the intro, all right, we're going to kick off the number 6 team right here, guys. I'm going to put Johnny at number 6. This team, bottom line, the way I feel about this team right now, 2 weeks ago, I felt like this team could have landed in my number 11 team. But somehow, some way, this guy maneuvers around and fixes a problem and makes it a little bit more eye-popping. He is currently ranked 6th. which is where I feel like he should be for obvious reasons. Things I like, things I don't like. I think McCaffrey was the right move going number one. There is no hindsight here. This guy's going to get the safest volume. You can't take him out of a script, and he gets all of the workload. I think it would have been between him or Saquon Barkley, and you made the right call. So I love that or what you did pretty much. Kerryon Johnson, my feeling hasn't really changed about Kerryon Johnson. You love this volume that he's getting, but this guy is not getting in the end zone, but he's getting the opportunities. I don't feel like you have to worry that much about him. I think health is my only concern here. I still think he is a solid RB2. And I think that combo is good. Let's talk about other things. The double tight end combo, you never want to be rolling this out unless you drafted elite guys, but the Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews thing is working out, and I think that it could sustain itself, rightfully so. Julian Edelman should be okay. Emphasize on should. Devontae Adams is hurt. I don't know how long this injury is going to keep him out for. You're hoping for the short term. Obviously, you bought low on him, and that was good because it made you get a victory over a vintage one. Will Fuller will sometime find the end zone. I just don't know when that's going to be. So I do feel like there is some things to like about this team a lot. I think that how do I put it? I think it's safe. Okay, I'm not looking at this team, and if I'm going up against this team, the only guys I'm really fearing are Christian McCaffrey and one of the deep threats that he's starting in Will Fuller or Marvin Jones, because that can make or break a game. I think Evan Ingram has a solid floor for a tight end. I think that Mark Andrews scores pretty much every game. I don't know. It's been sustainable at this point. The reason why Mark Andrews went so late in drafts is because some idiot on Twitter posted that he was only playing 40% of the snaps. And what do you know? That's going to take people away and steer clear. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is fantasy elite anymore. I think he's just a game manager. Edelman should be Tom's guy, like I said, but he's got to have some health. I don't know what to think about this team. Like, I don't think it's a championship team. I do feel like there's a lot of pieces. You have to figure out the right plays, and I think that's what's making me nervous, because if you look at it, there's a lot of guys on your bench that could be starters, but it's tempting to put them in solid matchups, and you could bench the wrong guy. Management here is probably my biggest concern. I know we have AJ Green leaking on the IR, but look, I'm not even a big AJ Green guy. If this guy does come back, it might be for like a playoff run or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot. I know you have bye week blues this week. There's a lot of things here that I don't have a thought. I don't have a feeling on. Really, I mean, I think Christian McCaffrey is nice. He's going to be a lock every week for you, and I think at least one of your tight ends is going to be a lock. But I feel like everything else is very floory. I'm worried about the upside. The one guy that I feel like could really, really start making this team get up float a lot is if Kerryon Johnson continues to get that workload. And I have to think, if I had to bet my money on your deep threats, I still want to say Will Fuller over Marvin Jones. I'm still not big with Marvin Jones, to be honest. He's very hard to trust now with Galladay being the eye candy of Matt Stafford. And Will Fuller, by advanced statistics, should be amazing. So that's how I'm going to leave it at with this team. I do feel like if he can keep his team afloat, I think he'll make the playoffs. But I don't know, man. The management concerns me. There's a lot of decent depth here. It just comes down to management. I feel like this team is very, very similarly constructed in a way as my team and Max's team. So just because there's a lot of random depth that you kind of plug and play. That's just my thought. All right, so let's kick off the number 5 team. And to be quite honest with each and every one of you guys here, the reason why I got this kid at number 5 is that I'm going to say this right now. This kid is the definition of fade the public for fantasy football. I'm talking about my man Matthew Morris here. This guy is the definition of fade the public. I'll be honest, after the draft, I was like, what the fuck did this kid do? Like, literally, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I woke up out of a freaking being drunk and passed out, and I just looked at that board, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what? I had no explanation whatsoever, man. And some moves have been made, but you have a lot of people that are judging on the quote of, you don't win the league based on the draft. It's based on management, and this guy has made all the right moves. Terry McLaurin has been a stud. He made that move. The Will Dissly pickup went so unnoticed, and this guy is becoming a good tight end. And again, this is why you don't draft tight ends early, folks. Guys who are picked up early in the season, guys who are drafted late, you don't draft tight ends early. I don't know why these idiots do it every year, because it sets them back in other skill positions. So Will Dissly is definitely up there in a tight end one category. Is not even hard to reach. You could even make the case that he's in the elite. I'd put him in the category now of like Darren Waller and who's the other guy, and like Evan Ingram. I feel like those guys are like in the similar tier together. Marquise Brown, so far has been a decent pick. Let's break down the team. Reason why I have this guy, he's 3-1. I know a lot of people are going to pull out the luck card, but looky here. He's in a division that's very, very easy. It's a cakewalk of a division if you play your cards right. Okay, I don't think Allen is a threat. I think that Andre has a lot of shit to figure out, and myself included, I should be up there with 3-1, but management has decided not to do that. But hey. Kenny Golladay pick, he's an alpha. Having him with a serviceable amount of running backs definitely looks very, very solid. There are some upside guys that you have that could be championship winning potential. Look, Dalvin Cook, absolute stud if he stays healthy. Marlon Mack is getting the workload. I think it was hindsight. I think we were all very foolish to think that this guy wouldn't be good even without luck. He still had the offensive line. Ronald Jones is a big wild card, and I'll actually speak from a non-biased opinion because you know my feelings on Ronald Jones. Looking on tape, he doesn't look that bad, but it seems like Bruce Arians is still content on running this three-man committee. I feel like everybody has a certain role per se. He traded for MVS, looking for more targets with the absence of Devontae. So I guess that's that. Hold on one second. Oh, I'm just looking at your bench right now, too. Golden Tate, by the way, could be a plug-and-play if this guy's receivers start falling off. I feel like he's a very good, get you that 8 to 10 with Daniel Jones. I think he likes to check down a lot. I think that Justin Jackson's upside is going to be limited now with Melvin Gordon back. He needs one of those guys to go down. D'Angelo Henderson will not see the field this year. He did pick up Antonio Callaway. So the bench I think is my only concern here. But when Golladay comes back, that would have to mean that Ronald Jones or MVS goes to the bench. And I do feel like when bye weeks do happen, he might be able to put something serviceable together. Now, the Kyler Murray air raid stuff has not been what it was advertised. Okay, I think a lot of people expected this guy to have a floor of 20 and an upside of like 30 every week, and it's been like a floor of like 15 and like an upside of 20 to 25. So he does get a good matchup this week, though, so anything is possible. Look, bottom line is the division he's in is very beatable, and I don't see a lot of talent in the division, so I'm going to go with Matt. Bow down to the king, King David. You're going to land in at my number 4 team. There's a lot to talk about with this team because I do think that there's been some up weeks and there's been some down weeks. There's still a lot of things to be figured out, but let's talk about the things that I love about this team, the roster construction, and then things that I think you're going to have to move away from. Carson Wentz, I feel like, is really good for fantasy football. The jury is still out as a real NFL quarterback. I think he still is a good real NFL quarterback, but there are some doubters out there. When he plays bad, I think he's starting to get a lot of criticism, but he should be fine. Okay, this guy right here, man, is just like, if you thought it was just a theory, it is now a proven fact. Cooper Kupp makes this offense. He is the reason why this offense is not totally being figured out and phased out. Cooper Kupp makes every read so much easier when Goff gets in trouble. He's all over the field. He catches everything. He's healthy. He's a wide receiver one. If this pace keeps up, this guy is going to go in the second round of drafts next season. This is Jared Goff's guy. This is the only guy you want on the passing attack, point blank. David Johnson. Look, maybe I'll admit at this point I think I was totally wrong. I still don't think he's he's not as explosive as what he used to be. But this guy is just getting such a good floor in this air raid offense. 22-7, but he was hurt. 15 and 17. He's phenomenal. This was the right call. James Conner, I have my doubts on this. You loved the volume last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. The 8 targets, but I don't think he's a good running back, point blank. And I think nobody will ever say that because you love the story of James Conner coming back from cancer and becoming an NFL running back. It's a fabulous story. But this is a guy I think that you would have to, if you can at any point, sell him for not anything, but if you feel like you need something, this is the guy I would try and sell. Josh Gordon and Sammy Watkins, to me, I think Sammy Watkins is going to be fine when Tyreek Hill comes back. I think we kind of know what's going on here. Sammy Watkins is getting targets when he's the number one, but he's not producing. I think when Hill comes back, it's going to open him up a little bit more. Joshua Gordon, we don't know if he's high at the moment, but I'm not thrilled with this pick, to be honest. Even when he was playing with New England last year, it's not like this dude was like back to the Cleveland Browns version of Josh Gordon. I'm not a Josh Gordon guy, flat out. He's gonna have his games, yes, but with him not even being like, it's hard to predict guys that are inconsistent, that aren't possession guys, and they aren't deep threat guys. He's just like a playmaker that doesn't get enough volume, and I'm iffy on him. Larry Fitzgerald, I think, is a solid floor. And like I already mentioned my thoughts on Sammy Watkins. But I do think once a healthy Deshaun Jackson comes back, this guy is going to be easy to start and sit, depending on the matchup. Josh Jacobs, my concern, the targets in the passing game, and he's game flow dependent. So I'm not touting him at all. Devonta Freeman, I know this is the guy you probably want to sell the most. I think Atlanta has a really bad run blocking offensive line. I'm not a big Devonta Freeman guy, but last year Tevin Coleman and Ito Smith couldn't get anything going, and now Freeman can't get anything going unless they're drafting the next Saquon Barkley. I just feel like no running back you put behind there is going to be effective. This guy I want to mention really quickly is Deontay Johnson, because James Washington must be a bust, I guess, that this guy's a rookie and he's already outproducing not only just James Washington, but Juju Smith-Schuster. He's been taking advantage of every opportunity, and I do feel like you can play your cards right with this guy any day of the week, to be quite honest. You could sell him if you would like. But the bottom line is this. Defenses are still fearing Juju in the slot, and they're going to double team him, meaning that this guy's going to be on the outside. Rudolph is a very inexperienced quarterback, which means that the route tree is going to be very limited for this guy. So I think the selling point would make more sense, but it's going to be streaks, screens, and like anything small underneath if Juju's covered. It's hard because this is a guy you don't want to trust, but I mean, consistency is there, and it's not like he's not getting the looks. 6 targets. Guys getting some looks, and Pittsburgh should be behind in a lot of games too. So I mean, that only bodes well for him. What do I see with this team going forward? I think it's going to be a battle between this team and Johnny's team for that division, and I think both teams are constructed very similarly. But it would be interesting to see how David's management comes about with a healthy Deshaun Jackson. That's what I'm interested to see because Josh Gordon, I look. If I'm the man, David Sutton, as of right now, I try to package Josh Gordon with Connor and get something for anything, or Devonta Freeman. I would try to package those guys and sell them right away because I don't feel like Josh Gordon's going to return value. And David loves his deep threats, and I think when Deshaun Jackson's going to go off, and maybe Deontay Johnson could also be that kind of guy. That's just my thoughts. There's some things to be figured out, but we know that Paul is one phone call away. So
ladies and gents,
let's see what
number
happens.
3 is back. His name is Maxwell.
Let's just look. This team has definitely surprised a lot of people. 3-1 is what his record should be. I know he could have beaten Coffee week 1, but with a stupid management decision on my part, I think it all evens out now. Richie Wilson, MVP. Keenan Allen, good. Tyler Boyd, decent. Ezekiel Elliott, good. Leonard Fournette, as long as my knees don't give out, I'm good. Ricky Seals-Jones, okay, whatever. It's a tight end. Joe Mixon, I'm going to get volume, but I might suck at it. Okay. Sterling Shepard, I assume. T.Y. Hilton, if I'm healthy, I'm out there. I'm good. Emmanuel Sanders, I might be the most underrated bench guy. I don't know why I'm on your bench right now, Maxwell, because I'm about to eat and feast. Dawson Knox, haha. Adrian Peterson, no. Malcolm Brown, maybe I was wrong about that, but Gurley's only a arthritic knee thing waiting to happen. Okay, let me just say this. You're in a very tough division. A very tough division. Okay, you've got a 2-time Super Bowl champion in your division, and you have the biggest hype story of the century in your division. And I think your team is keeping afloat. I want to see some management moves out of you to push yourself forward, Max. Don't lay on the ground and don't be a Brian and say, we'll see what happens. You do that, I'm going to fucking get pissed. Now, listen, Keenan Allen, awesome. Okay. My concern with him, though, is when the Chargers have their Melvin Gordon game plan and Austin Eckler, the volume might not be there, but it's still Keenan Allen. You're not worried about that. There's a lot of selling pieces here because you have a lot of depth. My thing is we haven't seen the full explosion out of Maxwell yet. We really haven't. Ezekiel Elliott has not been back to form yet, and that's one thing we have to kind of look and talk about. Shepard I like, but I think I'm more concerned now with Golden Tate coming back. But if he sucks, you still have T.Y. Hilton and Emmanuel Sanders to plug and play. Mixon, you're not going to bench because it's a running back 1 getting a RB1 volume, but it might only be like 8 to 10 points the way the Bengals play. Bottom line, I do feel like this team could make a wild card push. It has some championship rings to it, no doubt. The division is very difficult, though. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the time has come for us to realize that this is happening. This is not fiction. This is nonfiction. This is 2019. This is not 2010. The harsh era has begun. And I gotta say I'm loving every minute of it. This team is absolutely loaded, stacked. You talk about a draft. That's a freaking draft. That's phenomenal. What's missing? The management. But everything on paper and everything that has happened, this is worth the hype this year. It absolutely is. I'm just gonna breeze by it like wow. Okay, you handcuffed both Charger backs. My only concern with the Charger backs is if this does become a split committee. But even so, if that does become the case, Phillip Rivers loves his running backs. So let's say that you could have a possible game script where Eckler gets the most yardage and Gordon has 2 touchdowns, and you might even combine 30 from both because of that. So that could work out in your favor. Chris Carson is an absolute beast. The fumbling he's still on a shorter leash, but the more games where he doesn't put it on the ground, that short leash is going to get a little bit longer. The Seahawks realize how good he is, and as he's a bruiser, man. He's one heck of a running back. I think the only pick I don't really like here on this team, to be quite honest, is David Montgomery. Flat out, I have no interest in David Montgomery at all. But we're forgetting the fact that he has yet to use Melvin Gordon this year. He has yet to use Tyreek Hill this year. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this team. I think my only, if I had to be very nitpicky, and I will, for the sake of me finding a flaw, it'd be the wide receiver too. I think Godwin is a clear alpha in this league, but Samuel would have to rotate with Pettis. But when Hill comes back, that solves everything. So I just even answered my own question. My God. Look, the only reason why we're not putting this team at 1 is because of the record at 2-2. Okay, he ran into a bump in the road in week 3, and because of the Godwin injury at 4, I am not. Look, listen here. I am not knocking you for that decision at all, because I had the same thing with Cortland Sutton, and Jalen Ramsey got ruled out once the game started, so I couldn't take out Paul Richardson. So I don't have any knocks at all. When bye weeks happen, I do feel like he has even more value, and 2 phenomenal defenses as well. Look, it's the management card that's the only thing that I think would be a concern, because everything else on this team looks absolutely great. It does. Best of luck to you moving forward. I hope that you make the playoffs, because the only way that you miss it is if you make some boneheaded decisions. So let's. You have your ticket, man. It's just, how are you going to get to the promised land? So I love everything about this team. All right. I know a lot of people talking around the league are not a believer in this team. But look, he's 4-0, first place. There's a lot of things that you can. I love this guy, Rob Coffey, because it's like, if you want to attack him, he gets the counter argument lawyer move, and it's awesome. It's awesome because there's a lot of things you could have, right? So, number 1, this is a down year. This is an absolute down year for everybody. Okay, what we expected out of draft day has not been the case. Okay, so you get a check mark for that. Okay. Does he have the quarterback 1 in fantasy? Yes, he does. It's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't have to throw a touchdown. He'll still get him 25 points. Check. Is his name still Rob Coffey? Does he have 2 rings, and does he have good management? Check. Coffey, I'll throw this one out here. I'm not believing in it. Are we buying the karma narrative of last season for missing the playoffs? He's going to put a check for that. I'll wait to be seen if that's really a narrative, though. Julio and Beckham, we'll start out with that. One's been good. The other, he can't wait to get rid of. Look, it's Odell Beckham. You're going to have games where he doesn't do anything is the bottom line, because I feel like Freddie Kitchens has to play conservative high school football and run it with Nick Chubb and only pass when they need to. I think that's what's going to be the game plan moving forward. Gallman will be irrelevant next week. Miles Sanders, look, you're touting this guy all season long, but the fact remains he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. We have 4 games, not the greatest sample size, but it's still worth mentioning. I don't think this guy's ever going to be elite due to the fact that Doug Peterson runs like five running backs, but he's on return yards, which gives him an extra bonus to at least give you a floor of 8 to 10 potential. The Niners back situation, I think, is the biggest woe, because with Coleman coming back, it puts another wrench into things, and it's going to be hard to trust these guys week in and week out. It's hard to trust these guys, and I don't even think you could sell these guys. The only way that would be a thing is if one of the backs got hurt, but Kyle Shanahan will find somebody else to fill. They're running a 3-back system. It's a total stay away from me there. Bottom line is the running back situation here is where this team can be exploited. So that's where I'm understanding why people don't believe that it's at number 1. But there's a lot of other things here. Amari Cooper has sustained a substantial floor this season. Demarcus Robinson will be irrelevant, but he's filling in for 2 guys that were on the week 1 roster who haven't played yet. Number one is Jamison Crowder. If Darnold comes back, I do expect Jamison Crowder and Robbie Anderson to command the most targets. Chris Herndon, a guy I was stashing, unfortunately, with the way my team's going, I can't hold him on any longer. But if Darnold does come back, this is going to be a pass-first team. He's going to make the right reads. So those guys are going to fill in his tight end woe and his last flex woe. And you know what? Michael Gallup. Dak Prescott, look, go ahead, get excited and whatnot. He's improved. He really has improved. I don't think he's elite. I don't think that he's garbage. I think he's in between. He might just be average, to be honest, but you're giving an average quarterback with an offensive line and two solid weapons and a great running back. Things add up, if you know what I mean. Here's my thought. This is just a gamble. I do think by season's end, if Rob Coffey does keep this running back thing going afloat, I firmly believe that the running backs that will be starting for Mr. Coffey's team are going to be Miles Sanders and Duke Johnson. I think that's what he envisioned. I am starting to think that Houston, Bill O'Brien, and the coaching staff, and if not, Bill O'Brien will be gone. They've got to realize they have to take the checkdowns. They have to start doing that. Watson can't hit the deep play every single play. I know we want to see that as fans, but let's be realistic here. I think that his running backs have no. Sanders has ceiling, but I think the floors might start piling up a little bit to make this team stand afloat. Bottom line is this. Do the math. If Lamar is going to get him at least 25, and Julio and Cooper continue to do their thing, and all he needs then is Beckham to have one of his games, that's already 100 points, and then it comes down to everything else to add up. Bottom line is this, guys. I think with the exception of Vintage Harsh, everybody's upside is capped. There's committees, there's injuries, and the way things are set up, there's a lot of holes on everybody's team as of right now. With the exception of Vintage Harsh, I think that the Coffee upside for a week is around 140. Now, in this season, that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock on Rob Coffey's team, and that's not a knock on anybody else. You're playing to what the field is offering. So if you're telling me that Rob Coffey, because of the running backs, this upside can't get into that 170 range, it can go into that 140 range. It drops it down that much. Okay, that's fine. But everybody else is kind of the same. Look at the bottom half of the teams. 140, that's like if everybody scores a touchdown on their team. So what I'm trying to be getting at here is, while you can take the knock at Rob Coffey, look at everybody else in the other league. There's not another team that's stepping up. This is Rob Coffey in the middle of the boxing ring at number one, and he's just looking at everybody and saying, take it. Who wants to step up? And I think there's only one person that can do that, and that's the guy he's playing this week, and that's Vintage Harsh. But he's got to make the right management decisions. If the pace of the league with the scoring this year continues at this pace, and Harsh does not make a management adjustment in midseason, you're going to tell me that I'm going to put money on a guy that we all have a lot of respect for. He's one of the most feared competitors in this league. He's going to find a way to get it done. It's bottom line. Then there's a lot of factors, and I know, Coffey, you're going to love hearing this. Here are some factors that I think could stop a Rob Coffey team, and I'm not even going to use injuries in this. The number one factor, I believe, is the Harsh management. I think if that kid eventually figures it out, it's going to be scary. It's going to be hard to stop. I think everybody's on boat with that one. The next management factor is desperate trades from other teams. I think that's another thing that could take a team over the top. I know what you're thinking right now. Yeah, like a David Paul deal. That is exactly what I'm alluding to. But we've seen people get very desperate for a player that they need right now more than the long term. And I think those trades can definitely put one team over the top that could kind of contend to Mr. Coffey. But these are all what-if factors. They're not guarantees. My bottom line is this. He's 4-0. He could potentially be 5-0 in a very, very tough division. You got to give it up for the kid. As of right now, like I said, this is a beatable team, but somebody's got to prove to me that some other teams are stepping up, because I've really been disappointed. I don't even think it's disappointed. It's just the league itself. There's been a lot of disappointments. Okay, wrap it up. How do I see this team going forward? Okay, this team I think already has a ticket for the playoffs, unless like a massive injury bomb happens. Okay. This team's already booked in the playoffs. It's just a matter of seeding. Is this team going to be a number one seed, or is he going to be a wild card because of the amount of competitors? But this is what I'm talking about, right? The separation of points, there's none. Everybody's neck and neck. Coffee's number one at no, I'm sorry, you're number two. Harsh is number one at 534. Coffee 508. The next team would be Johnny's. Yeah, I'm saying that with like questions. 498, 481, 477. So the gap of points right now it's pretty narrow. It's not as wide. So there's a lot that needs to be discovered in the upcoming weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, those were my takes. You got it.